The woods were never silent, but tonight, the whispers were different. They weren't the rustle of leaves or the call of distant owls. They were voices, familiar voices, calling my name. And the worst part? I recognized them. They belonged to the people who had vanished here years ago. A group of 5 friends, Mia, Jake, Leela, Ryan, and Alina, embark on a weekend camping trip to Black Hollow Woods, a remote forest shrouded in local legend. Stories of hikers who ventured in and never returned have plagued the area for decades. Mia, the reluctant one, has heard these tales all her life. But Jake, the adventurous leader, convinces her it's just superstition. Leela, the skeptic, mocks the fear. Ryan, the joker, keeps the mood light, while Alina, the quiet observer, watches everything with an uneasy gaze. As they hike deeper, the woods grow denser. Sunlight fades faster than it should, and an unnatural chill settles in the air. The laughter among them fades, replaced by the eerie sensation of being watched. That night, as they set up camp, strange things begin to happen. Distant footsteps crunch in the leaves, shadows flicker between the trees, and someone or something whispers Maya's name. By morning, Ryan is gone. His tent remains, but his belongings are scattered, and his footprints lead into the woods, only to vanish abruptly. Panic sets in. They search for him, following his trail until they find one of his shoes hanging from a branch, dripping with something dark and wet. Leela insists it's a prank, but Jake grows increasingly paranoid. As the sun sets, the voices return, calling their names. Mia recognizes Ryan's voice, but it sounds wrong, distorted, inhuman. They attempt to leave, but every direction leads them back to their campsite. Desperation turns to terror when Mia discovers a weathered journal under a rock. The entries, written by a long-lost hiker, mirror their own experiences, the whispers, the looping paths, the suffocating dread. The final page reads, "It's not the woods that are alive. It's what's buried beneath them." That night, Leela vanishes. No trace remains except her camera, containing a single image, a blurred figure with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth standing behind her. Determined to find answers, Mia, Jake, and Alina push deeper into the forest. They stumble upon an ancient, moss-covered stone altar. Surrounding it are bones and remnants of past victims, shredded backpacks, rusted compasses, and torn clothing. The realization dawns: the woods are not just haunted. They are a trap, feeding on fear and stealing souls. The entity finally reveals itself, a shifting, shadowy mass with piercing eyes. It taunts them, preying on their deepest fears. Jake, overcome with terror, bolts into the woods and is swallowed by the darkness, never to be seen again. Mia and Alina, desperate and terrified, strike the altar with all their strength, chipping away at its power. The forest trembles, the voices wail, and a path suddenly appears before them. With no other choice, they run. As they cross the threshold into daylight, Alina collapses. Mia turns her over, only to find her friend's eyes hollow, her voice no longer her own. It's not over. It's never over. Mia stumbles away, alone. She makes it back home, but the nightmare doesn't end. At night, she still hears them, the voices calling her back. The final shot. Mia sits in her dimly lit apartment, staring at a map of Black Hollow Woods. The camera pans to her window. A shadowy figure stands outside, watching. Mia had always felt uneasy about Black Hollow Woods. She remembered the hushed conversations of townsfolk, the warnings from her grandmother about the souls trapped in the forest. Even before the trip, she had nightmares, visions of twisted trees and unseen figures lurking in the dark. As they packed their gear into Jake's car, a feeling of dread settled in her stomach. During the drive, Ryan kept the mood light with jokes about ghost stories. "Maybe Bigfoot's in there, waiting to make a new friend," he laughed. But Mia noticed how Alina barely spoke, her gaze fixed on the passing trees as though she already sensed something was wrong. The first night was far from peaceful. Aside from the whispering voices, Mia woke to the sound of something scraping against her tent. Heart pounding, she held her breath, listening. Was it an animal? The slow, deliberate movement suggested otherwise. She unzipped the tent just an inch, peering out into the darkness. A shadow flickered between the trees. Too tall, too thin to be human. And it was watching her. Mia shut her eyes, willing it to go away. When she opened them again, it was gone. The entity was not just a mindless spirit. It fed on emotions, especially fear. The more frightened they became, stronger it grew. It whispered their darkest secrets, conjured illusions of their worst memories. It wasn't trying to simply kill them, it wanted to break them, to make them part of the forest's eternal cycle of suffering. As Mia and Alina struggled to destroy the altar, the entity's power surged. A wave of darkness engulfed them, showing them horrific visions. Jake's lifeless body hanging from a tree, Ryan's voice pleading for help from the shadows. The altar pulsed, alive, resisting them. But Mia, fueled by sheer desperation, struck the stone with all her might. A crack split down the middle, and the entity screamed, a sound so unnatural it made their skin crawl. Mia thought she had won. But as days passed, the whispers never truly left her. She saw fleeting glimpses of figures in the corner of her eye. She heard Ryan's laughter echoing in empty rooms. And then, one night, she looked out her window, and there it was. The shadow, waiting, calling her back. And Mia realized, with a sinking heart, that she had never really escaped at all,